Hi guys, just to let you know, we've got a brand new website, drcharlieward.com, where all our videos will be loaded over the next few weeks, and you'll be able to view all of those without. There's no charge for watching any of those. We've moved them all onto our own platform because all the doctor ones, which are very, very important, have been taken down. But it's so we've now got control over those. But every single video we post will be free to watch. That's very important for you to know. The other thing is we're getting an awful lot of people asking us about gold and silver, and I've always been an advocate of gold and silver. And myself, I'm not in a position to give financial advice. I'm not qualified to do so. I'm just going to tell you what I've personally done. I've personally bought gold and silver, and I've used a company that I trust, which is shown below here. They've always looked after me well. And if you order from them more than £250 worth, you get a free 1 ounce silver coin, which is very, very nice. It's a nice little gift. But this is not an endorsement. This is just what I have done personally, and it's up to you. It's your choice. As I said, I'm not qualified to give the advice on financial advice, but it's just what I have done personally. And I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoy watching all of my videos. Thank you.
So Charlie, we have an insider now into Tyler Perry's studio.
Do you?
Yes.
We do, and I have to be careful about what I say because, like you, this person shouldn't be talking to us. But so this person says that they see the actors. Being escorted every night, early morning, into Tyler Perry's studio between 4 and 5 a.m. Every morning, the actors are escorted in to film in the White House. And they can confirm that there are working tunnels underneath Tyler Perry's studio that go to all the states, all 50 states. Yes. Now, for those who don't know, we might have talked about it last time. I can't remember. Tyler Perry's studio, he bought it from an old military fort.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that those tunnels were already there.
Yes.
Now, what we also know is that Tyler Perry is a good guy.
Okay.
He's a good guy. He's working with
the team.
Good guys.
Okay.
Some people had some questions because he did promote the cure,
Yeah.
But apparently with his employees, it was a different story. Okay. So anything he says publicly is probably I'm assuming is being given to him to say for a particular reason.
Yes.
So with that being said, when I first found that out, I actually called Tom immediately and was giddy. I was giddy because this means, guys, we already know this, but this is 100% a movie.
Yep.
It's 100% a movie.
I've also learned something as well, that there's two sets of actors, one that's based in Atlanta and one that's based in Hollywood.
I believe it.
And James Rose is playing in one place and Jim Carrey is doing the other.
I had heard Jim Carrey before, and James Woods. I'd heard him as well.
Sorry, James Woods. Sorry, my mistake.
And the funny thing is, we know that James Woods, from what I understand, is a white hat.
Yes, he is.
He was huge. And when we found that out, my boyfriend even pointed out that he had kind of vanished off of social media. He wasn't being that big on. So he was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening now.
Yes.
He's got a job now. Yes. And the interesting thing about James Woods is that he has a very, very, very high IQ, like Trump.
Okay.
So there's something very special there. Now, Jim Carrey, on the other hand, I don't think he's not. Is he good or bad? Do we know?
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so it's interesting. They have one person they probably got by the neck making them, and one person is having a blast.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure we can figure out which time James is acting, because I think he's having some fun playing his role.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They're now taking the mick. They're now taking the piss, and they're having a lot of fun with it. But it's a little bit embarrassing as to how fast asleep people are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
No.
The one thing that I love,
the intelligent people that are asleep, please wake up.
Oh, I know.
Please wake up.
The one thing I did love was, we've all been told to watch the water.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's Jesse's surname.
Yes.
Jesse Waters, who put out the other day on Fox that it was all a pantomime.
Yeah, he did.
It went out. Yeah. And so, first of all, we thought it was the Chinese dam. Then we thought it was the Suez Canal. It could be Jesse Waters. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of things.
Could be all of them, couldn't it?
Sorry?
Could be all of them, couldn't it, Charlie? All the Waters.
It could well be. It could well be. But Jesse just pointed out everything about the pantomime. But I can say discreetly that everything is done. Everything is done. Everything is totally under control. We were past the critical phase in May last year. And the critical phase was taking off the head of the beast, which was the Phoenician families being taken down. They were taken down. That was critical because that took off the supply.
Right.
And it was only then a question of the death roll as to how long it took them before they passed out. The other thing, of course, that a lot of people overlook is that once we move from the Federal Reserve SWIFT system into the quantum system, immediately their life supply of funds disappears. So as much as there's been all this naughty stuff going on the stock exchange and with the banks, with JP Morgan and the other one, the name's gone, but they've been trying desperately to get as much money out as they possibly can. It's all in the Fed.
Yeah.
So that's great because they can keep an eye on it because they might think they're very, very rich, but that's just a number on a piece of paper on a system, and of course when it flips across that'll go to zero.
Yeah. Well,
the tables have been turned now. Instead of
the
them
tables
controlling
have
us,
been turned. Yeah.
now they're being controlled. Yeah.
They hate it.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Most psychopathic narcissists do hate it when they get a taste of their own medicine.
Oh, don't they just?
You know what I just found out too, in my research, is that our ancient ancestors used to celebrate the new year at the vernal equinox, which is what we just had.
Okay.
So we're going back to ancient times. If the good guys are following like the true timeline, we just now finished 2020. And so It makes sense if we're flipping now. And actually the exact time that we flipped for Eastern Standard Time, which is the New York and Atlanta time, was 8:46 p.m. on March 20th, which is Barron Trump's 15th birthday.
Wow.
So talk about the family being involved.
Yeah.
The reason why we celebrate the New Year in January has a lot to do with the festivities that the bad guys get into, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So the good guys have been following the God timeline, not the devil timeline. So I found that really cool when I found that out, that they literally know what they're doing.
They do.
Charlie, you mentioned the water, and Bryce has just said about Barron Trump, and he seems like he continues growing, but last I heard he was 6'7", and 6'7", 67 comes to water, which comes to reset, which comes to exchange. So it seems totally appropriate that Barron is that height. And some of the other waters that you mentioned, we've been talking about, but I've found a few more. So this lake above, well, it's in the trajectory, it's still part of the Suez Canal, but where the Evergreen has been put is called Great Bitter Lake.
That's right. Yeah.
And Great comes to 51, which is Jasara, Batman as well, Batman's Trump. But Bitter, interesting enough, comes to 74, which is Jesus. It's also the word point. President Trump's king of pointing. He's age 74. London, 74. But Bitter, Lake, and Lake comes to 29, which also comes to Diana. And I was looking at the map, and there's a place just across on the West Bank called Fayed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
wow.
Oh, so I did some more numbers on this. And you've got Dodi Fayed. So Dodi comes to 32, which comes to Jim. We know a few Jims. There's Jim Caviezel, the great actor with Sound of Freedom. Fayed comes to 41. 41 comes to USA, comes to King, comes to Alien, comes to Good, comes to Fun, comes to Key, comes to my initials, TSB. But you add 32 plus 41, and that takes you to 73. 73 comes to Egypt, comes to number, also comes to children. So 73 comes to children, comes to Egypt, comes to Dodi Fayed. They're there in Great Bitter Lake. Lake is 29, which is Diana. Some other values for that. If you do the Revelation is 121, but the Revelation comes to 154, which is Great Bitter Lake. And the other day, actually on Christmas, what am I saying? Easter, around Easter, I was there on, I think it was Saturday, might have even been Sunday, might have even been Easter. What day are we today? Tuesday. It's all blending into one. I think it was Saturday. I think it was the 3rd. I was at Kensington Gardens in London. Kensington Gardens backs onto, back Kensington Palace, where Diana used to live, backs onto it. And you've got what you call the round pond. Mm-hmm. Now, I titled it in my video about it, I called it a lake, but my mum pointed out that she knew it growing up as the round pond. Mm-hmm. So when you do the numbers on round pond, that comes to 154 as well, the round pond. And I was like, okay. And then I looked further, and Queen of Hearts comes to 154. And there's a great picture of Princess Diana after she'd passed, and you had all the flowers and tributes, and there's a balloon of the Queen of Hearts card there. It's quite a famous one. Mm-hmm. And I remember going to the palace and seeing and feeling with everybody all the morning of all the, the outpouring of love for her. But all those numbers, so the Great Bitter Lake, the Revelation, Round Pond, and Queen of Hearts all come to 154, which also come to the Second Coming. And we've been talking about the resurrection. President Trump, 198, comes to the resurrection. All these things, and it's like, the closer we get to this, they're telling us it's biblical. But the numbers just keep stacking up. Each day when I discover new ones, I'm just like, oh wow, the whole thing was Fayed right there. The Lake Diana Fayed. I'm like, oh, okay, but it's just it's fascinating, the numbers, and with the water, like you said, follow the water or follow the waters.
We're in for a hell of a few months, aren't we?
We are. Yes. The one thing that has become very, very clear in the last 7 days to me is that we're on a parallel universe. And some people on the side that we're on, well, all of the people on the side we're on, can see things very, very clearly. Mm. Those people that are stuck in the third dimension haven't got a clue what's going on, not even the slightest. They don't see anything. They don't see the numbers. They don't see the movie. They don't see the pantomime. They don't see anything. And it's like they're going along together, and there's absolutely no recognition from the third dimension at all that anything's wrong.
They can't even see how ridiculous. I almost feel like they're trying to make this so ridiculous to wake up the people in the deepest of sleep. I mean, I feel like I get on social media, and granted, I only really follow people who are awake, but just the amount of jokes that people are making, because it has gotten almost, it's like you're trying to talk to a 3-year-old at this point and get a 3-year-old to realize something, because it's getting so, I swear to God, if Dr. Fauci got on TV tomorrow and told people you have to walk around naked because your clothes will get you sick, I'd walk outside and see people walk around butt naked.
Yeah, you would. You would.
And I would be the crazy one for still wearing clothes.
Yeah.
Somebody accused my boyfriend of being an I don't know what I can say on.
Masker.
Yeah. And he goes, my boyfriend was like, there's no such thing. There's just maskers and normal people. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we're just normal people. Like we're living, so it's kind of humorous, even though it gets frustrating. It's kind of humorous to see how far they're willing to take it to try to wake these people up.
Mm-hmm.
But I was telling Tom, I've been studying a lot of the missing gospels, or the banned gospels.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the Greek, they talk a lot about ideo, which is intellectual knowledge,
mm-hmm.
and gnosis, which is inner knowing or heart knowing. And in the gospels, they make it clear that ideo, which is intellectual knowledge, is the elementary knowledge. And that gnosis, inner knowing, is the highest level of consciousness and knowledge. And I see these people who are so highly educated. They have so many degrees. They have all this ideo. They have all this intellectual knowledge, but they have no gnosis. They can't
Correct.
see anything. And it's starting to make sense. And then you have people who aren't as highly educated as these people, and they see exactly what's going on.
Correct.
And it's like we're seeing that inversion so clearly of how they've made these people who are literally the lowest level of intellect, because they can't see what's inside. They can't see what's right in front of them. It's so fascinating. It's really very fascinating. It's sad and funny and fascinating all at the same time. So
I totally agree. I think you're absolutely bang on the money, because I've noticed the same. The people that we would look up to as far as IQ and knowledge and everything else just missed it completely. And those people that are just have a simple, honest view of life. I look back and there's one half of me that's quite thankful that my parents told me that I didn't need to worry about school, because the end of the world was coming. And I went through school like it didn't bloody matter. And it obviously didn't.
It didn't bloody matter. Well, they must have known something, your mum and dad, to tell you that one, Charlie.
Exactly. Amid all the bullshit they gave me some good information.
In every
yeah,
there's always a piece of gold, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
There is.
What the devil will make for bad, God will use for good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing that's been another thing that's become clearer and clearer and clearer, because I get asked a lot about the new world that we're moving into. This whole journey gets rid of evil. It doesn't get rid of bad.
Yeah.
Bad will still be there, but evil will be gone. So we still need to be aware of bad people. Bad people can become good people. Evil people can't come back.
Yeah.
And there's a critical difference. And young Pharaoh pointed that out to me early on my journey. And I thought that was beautiful, that once you cross over from bad to evil, there is no way back.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be born with something missing inside of you to be able to participate in what these people have participated in.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have the same soul that everybody else has at that point.
No.
So I agree with you. And you see they're whistleblowers. They're people who are born into these families that become whistleblowers because they were born with that soul.
Sure.
And when they were able to leave, they left and they became whistleblowers.
Correct.
So you see it. So absolutely.
Something that came up this week, Charlie and Bryce, is I've talked about this a lot, but the film Tenet. So Jack Kidd, mine and Charlie's friend, actually started watching it this week because I've been bleating on about it for a while. But it's a Christopher Nolan film, but it's a very on point. It's a playbook for what's happening right now. And there's a part in it. It's a very subtle part in the film, but they make reference to the Pentagon or a Pentagon. Okay. And I did the numbers on Pentagon. Pentagon comes to 92, which is also Manhattan. And there's also the word numbers. So I've known numbers and Manhattan for a while. And I believe that the Manhattan skyline will be a big part of all of this. And we saw that at Easter. You know, they did that picture with the three buildings. Did you ever find out what that middle one was, Bryce?
I get so confused with the skyline sometimes. I tried looking at it.
I'll have a look. It might have been the Rockefeller, or I don't know if it's not sure if it's the New Yorker hotel, because that keeps coming up in the numbers, and that was where Nikola Tesla lived. But the thing about the Pentagon, or in this film, so they're showing ports as well. They're showing ferries, you know, in terms of cargo coming in and out. There's references to gold. There's references to lockdown. There's soft references to children. But it's reversing. So it's reversing the flow of time, reverse entropy. So that in a nutshell, they basically go into this thing, which is the Pentagon. It's the shape of a pentagon, but it's called a turnstile. So they call it a turnstile. and they basically go in one way, you come out the other, and you're reversing time, and you see all of that, the actors going against each other, reversing, etc. It's fascinating. It's very complex. It's fascinating. But I did the numbers as well on turnstile, and it comes up to 138, which comes up to Donald Trump, and it comes up to revaluation, and it comes up to the Savior, and it also comes up to Dome of the Rock, and it also comes up to the pyramids. And we've had that whole thing with Egypt and moving the pharaohs around and all that stuff in the last few days. But that whole thing of time reversal, you're thinking of JFK and Jr. and others and the Trumps in terms of time travel and time reversal. But turnstile is 138 is Donald Trump, and it's right there. But they do a very, it's almost like half a second. If you could almost miss the diagram of the Pentagon, and they say Pentagon, but it's in the shape of it. But the whole thing of Biden not having the codes, the white hats, the military, all being, it's all these things are right there, and they kind of pop up as and when we are ready to notice them. So I'd seen that before in the film, but it just kind of came presence of mind in the last couple of days. And the other thing about it, if you break the word down, so turn again comes to 73, which comes to Egypt, comes to children, comes to Dodi Fayed, comes to number. 65 comes to Florida, comes to 7, comes to the word stay. In Christopher Nolan's films, he always, in 2 different films, he makes a point of emphasizing the word stay, and they do it right in the opening shot, in the opening sequence of this film Tenet, and they say stay, but they also say stay in Interstellar, which is all about the Galactic Federation and time space travel basically. But it's the more you break the numbers down. Another one as well, the whole thing of Easter, the word POTUS comes to 91, which when you break it down comes to the Father. So you've got POTUS, the Father. You've also got real Donald Trump. And I did a video on the 1st of April titled Donald Trump is Jesus Christ. I knew it would get some interest, but I set out my reasoning and belief for that through the numbers. We know that President Trump comes from a line of Christ. His father's middle name was Christ. His grandmother's name was Christ. The great-grandparent was called Christ. And he's age 74, which is Jesus. And the word the Savior comes to 138, which is Donald Trump. Revaluation is 138, Donald Trump. Turnstile is 138, Donald Trump, etc., etc., etc. So, but the thing about Pentagon and Turnstile was quite interesting in the last couple of days. It popped up, and I know that's obviously, in the bigger picture of things, but the numbers are bang on as well.
When I was out for my walk yesterday morning, I had a really, really strange thing happen with numbers. On the car number plates, I had 3 zeros.
Yeah.
Then followed by 3 threes.
Yeah.
Followed by three sixes, and then 3 nines in the space of 5 minutes.
Wow. 369000.
Yeah.
Wow. Tesla numbers.
Yeah. I was just like, wow. Because I was in my mind, I was just looking at it, and so it's like seeing 3 zeros. I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then I got 3 threes, and it came consecutive 0, 3, 6, 9, and it just put a smile on my face to say the numbers are out there. And it's when you start seeing them, you just go. And for me, it was harmony. It's like everything, because I know things that I can't talk about, but things are all coming together right now. Yeah. And so it just confirms that things are coming together.
Yeah, definitely. That's I had a number for 369, and I can't remember what it is now. I'll have to pull it up, but they're the Tesla numbers,
You talked about the children in Great Bitter Lake.
Yes.
And I now have very, very good intel that the American forces have established a number of things that were on board the ship that should not have been there. Let's leave it at that. But they didn't want to, because I think you and I both wanted them to accidentally drop a container and it burst open and the kids come running out. But I think that would have been far too intense for some people. For you and I, we'd have sat back and had a little chuckle, but that could have done a lot of mental damage to people that are fast asleep. So it's been done far more subtly than that. But they've established not just that there was human trafficking being used, which we all knew anyway with Evergreen, but there was also weapons of mass destruction on there.
Wow.
So even that, there's a lot of stuff that will come out. For those people that are awake and aware, they'll see it straight away and they'll understand what's going on. But there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of numerology, a lot of these things that before this journey I knew nothing about, that have become great fun to understand.
Yeah. Wasn't it the Eisenhower plumber that went along there, Charlie? Was it the Eisenhower? What was it? The Eisenhower Forces boat, and something about a plumber.
That's right.
What was that?
I can't remember, but I do remember.
It was one of the, and the thing about President Eisenhower, his great granddaughter has a channel. She's a truther. He was part of the 17 group and warned Kennedy before Kennedy came into office. So it's kind of cool that his name is being brought back in as well, because he was part of that team of military people that were protecting, that we know as 17.
Mm-hmm.
When you say that, Bryce, that you said she's a truther. So the word plumber, if I've spelled it correctly the way they did, so PLUMBER, is that correct?
Yep.
So that comes to 87, which comes to the word truth. So it's like, okay, and you said, Charlie, we know behind this, the truth of what was there. Well, you've just shared it with us. The mainstream media haven't taken it, but you just shared with us what it was. Another thing as well, you and I were chatting a little, well, I guess yesterday, about today, April 6th.
Mm-hmm.
And April 6th, it's quite an important date in many ways. One of them being that the Mormon Church was established 1830, April 6th. April is the 4th month. So if you do 4-6, 46, Dove, Mormon, as I've mentioned before, is 88, Trump. So before things got changed at the very top that no one really understood or knew about, it was a good thing, as all of these things were. But the other thing about that as well, 46, President Trump was born in 1946. 46 also comes to your last name, Ward. And interesting enough, my parents were married on April the 6th, and my dear grandmother Eileen passed on April the 6th. So it's quite, and it's also the beginning of the financial year here in England, maybe other countries as well. But it's a very significant date, and the numbers are, pretty potent. And if you do 1830, so if you do 18 plus 30, it comes to 48, which is, I know it's Tom, but it also I discovered today it's Zodiac. Me and Bryce were talking about that earlier. But then if you add 46 to that, so 48 plus 46 takes you to 94, which comes to John, which also comes to Ace of Spades. And so John is one of the Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades. Again, this whole thing of President Trump being the great croupier, the universal croupier, being able to play the games all simultaneously, chess, poker, whatever you want to have all at once is quite amazing. So
now here's the thing I've been thinking about with all this as well, with the sleepers that are just completely going to be slapped upside the head when everything comes to life. Charlie and Tom, do you guys have any indication of what they're going to first release to the public, or how that's going to happen? Like, how are they going to do this without pushing people into a nervous breakdown?
My gut feeling.
Charlie's the man for that.
My gut feeling is it'll be an emergency broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
That will come out and point out that the mainstream media have been covering up the fact that this is all pantomime. There was no truth in the inauguration. There was no truth in the fake presidency, if you like. When we point out about the fact that Biden doesn't get any intel from the Pentagon, they don't give intel to people that are dead. And they certainly don't give it to actors.
Right. So you think that's going to be how they're going to start to ease people into this and just be like, this is what's going on. And then we can just sit back and be like, I told you so, even though we shouldn't say that. We should be more compassionate than that. But there are a few people I really want to say, I told you so too.
Yeah. I think, there's a number of things that have been there that are already in the open. It was very interesting that the head of the US military recognized Trump as the commander-in-chief on the 11th of March. I thought that was critical.
Yep.
Yet the mainstream media never mentioned it. It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. They're the problem. They're like the biggest problem. Literally.
Yes, they are.
They're passing these spells, and
even one of my family members said to me a few weeks back, so you're telling me, Dad, you're telling me that you're right and all the media is wrong, all of the media. And I said, that's exactly what I'm telling you. That's exactly what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
And they know it too. They know it. They know they're lying.
They do. They do. I had that with someone today, actually. Yeah. And they just, but I could sense in, exclamation marks. And it's like they know deep down, they know what we're telling them is true. They know, but it's more comfortable to go along with, we'll trust our government, we'll trust the masses, we'll trust what we're being told. The problem with the media is it's that third person in everybody's life. Mm-hmm. If you watch it, it's that third person in the room that is always there if people tune into it. And so they believe it because people are porous. If you hear something enough, people do believe what they're told. And if they don't think critically and when you scare them with death, that's when you've got them. Scare them with death, and then they just believe and do as they're told. And then the whole world starts to move into that same position, and they're going to go for it.
Chris Whitty, the chief medical advisor to the British government, came out on the 1st of April, last Thursday, and made it very clear that coronavirus COVID-19 was nothing more than the common cold. And of course, they published that officially last year, back in March. But he said it, and everybody that I've spoken to that's asleep, their reaction has been, well, it was April the 1st, wasn't it? And I'm like, dear.
Or that they forgot to change the website. I had that one recently as well. Something as big as that. Oh, they just haven't updated the website. Really? They haven't updated the website, and they haven't updated all the other governmental websites around the world, and the CDC. All the others haven't updated their websites on something that clear. And this, this is dealing with people that are, quote unquote, bright.
Yes.
But they're they're caught in the headlights and they can't break out of it. But I do believe deep down they do know, and there will come a time where they will know. Like you say, probably through an emergency broadcast, Chai, because I've been getting the numbers on that. The emergency broadcast comes up to 178, and I get numbers on that fairly regularly, probably 2-3 times a week in the papers. So I always do the front and back covers of the newspapers here in England, the tabloid ones. And they're the most truthful. The Star newspaper people say, oh, that's rubbish. That's the most truthful. That's the one that kept showing the picture of Evergreen last week. That was the one that kept featuring it. And I sent you might not have seen it yet, but Easter Sunday, there was a front and back on 2 different newspapers with 17. Big bold letters, 17 on the same day. The same day.
Incredible.
Well, I will say too, we here in Atlanta, Georgia, we have the CDC here, and we run a yoga shala, and my boyfriend does not allow for masking in the shala, no social distancing. It's all normal in our shala, and we have doctors at the CDC that are students at our shala. So if they're working for the CDC and they're coming into a business willingly without wearing protection, and just that tells you a lot about
it does. It does, and it's very, very interesting. Tom alluded to it earlier, where people are saying something and behind the scenes it's different, because we forget that we're in a war. We're in a third world war. So there's a lot of red flags out there. There's a lot of disinformation out there. There's a lot of things that are done for show. And we keep saying, well, why did Trump even promote the vaccine? Well, first of all, hydroxychloroquine and Regeneron are classed as vaccines. What is being distributed by Pfizer, Oxford, and AstraZeneca are not
classified as vaccines.
Yep.
That's why a lot of people have changed it to a jab, because they're not classified. And we had a friend the other day who said that she was going to go and get the vaccine, and my wife said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yeah, no, that makes." And then my wife just turned around and said, "Just check with your insurance company to see if your health insurance and your life insurance is valid after you've had it, because I don't think it is." And both of them said, if you have the vaccine, your life insurance is invalid, and so is your health insurance.
That's a great one. Thanks for reminding. I'm going to share that, Charlie. Thank you for that reminder. That's perfect. Yeah.
It's an experiment. Yeah. It's an experimental drug. And somebody said they have to keep us in an emergency situation in order to be able to use this experimental drug as they are.
Correct.
I was telling Tom, it appears that in some places in the United States, they're giving this out for free, which should be a huge red flag to all Americans, because we don't do free medicine in America.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They charge for everything here. So why are they giving this out for free? So
and the doctors, from what I understand, are being financially incentivized to vaccinate or to jab or to do whatever they're doing with it. But when you have to pay a doctor to give somebody an injection, you have to ask why.
I told Tom, and I'll say this as we're finishing up. My grandfather, my mom's father, was a surgeon. He died in 1986, I believe. He was in his 50s. He had cancer and he passed away. And he never got to retire. And as he was on his deathbed, one of his colleagues, who was also a doctor, was sitting by his deathbed, crying about the fact that my grandfather was dying. And my grandfather said, "Don't weep for me. I'm going to a better place. I weep for you. We see what's happening with medicine. I weep for the world that is to come." So in the 80s, my grandfather, who was the head of surgery at his clinic, could see back then what was happening, that the doctors were not, they were going to be enslaved to another company, not their oaths to protect lives.
I think I certainly have noticed that I've been blessed on this journey, but there's been people on this journey like David Icke. There's many other people out there that have been on this journey for many years who've known that it's wrong. But the trouble is people have pointed the finger at them and said they're mad. They're completely mad. And it's all. And the one thing that I've noticed recently as well, and I talked about it yesterday with Dave Mahoney, the amount of people, the trolls that we're getting, all funded by secret services and the authorities, all funded by them. Yep. So when we were talking to our legal team about what we should do, there's no point going to the police because they're involved. They're part of the problem. So we're making up our minds whether we turn up at their doorstep because we know where they live on a personal level and just put the fear of God into them.
Send Dawson and Mahoney round. Send Dawson round with the.
We could do that, or we could just publish their names and addresses and say who they are. That would hurt them because evil and the devil don't like being exposed.
No.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Yeah. Do it, Charlie. Do it. Yeah, do it.
I'm waiting we're discussing behind the scenes what we do, but we'll have some fun with them anyway.
Yeah.
Trump is having fun right now. Every time I see it, he looks like a giddy schoolboy. He is having so much fun making these people sweat, and you can see they're going like crazy. They don't know what he's going to do. It's like
exactly.
I'm like, if he's enjoying this, and we're following his lead, like then we should sit back and be like, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay.
Send Dawson and Rodriguez. Get Rodriguez over on a jet. Send him over.
I was speaking to Nino yesterday. He's such a good lad. He's totally on point. The thing with Nino, I love him so much. He's the mainstream social media are determined to shut him down, doing everything they can. He only needs to sort of hint at one bad word and he's gone. He's got one strike already, and it's just like, really. The censorship is off the scale at the moment, and he said it's just got worse. In the last week, he said they're cutting off anybody that's even hinting now at that the left are in the wrong. But we're so close to there now. But people need to wake up. They need to wake up now.
Wake up.
See what's because we've had it's been lengthened because the intelligent bastards have turned out to be thick bastards.
We think that people are actually embarrassed. My boyfriend and I are like, we think there's some people that are so embarrassed because they now know that they were wrong that they're just doubling down because they don't know what else to do.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know what else to do because they've been telling us to shut up for so long, and then suddenly they've realized that they're the ones that needed to shut up.
It's a lot freer though on this side. If people did wake up or have woken up and are worried, just come over.
Well,
it's way much happier. It's a great freeing place. It's always been a freeing place. Even before, a lot of us are kind of that naturally way inclined. But if people are on the fence, just jump over, because what else are you going to do? You're just going to be a poisoned zombie over the next 2, 3, 4 years if you just carry on that way. So just come over.
Just remember what it was like as a child when you got caught for doing something wrong, and the moment you said sorry, that burden was lifted immediately.
Yeah.
When the word sorry is not, it's probably one of the hardest words to say, but when you say it, the transformation in your feelings inside is unbelievable. And I learned to say sorry at a very, very young age, that if I'd done something wrong, and it takes the wind out of everybody's sails the minute you say sorry.
Yeah.
And it will take the wind out of our sails. Then we'll just move on to the next person and get them to wake up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all about love on this side. They're all about
hatred and fear.
Yep, absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Well, this is going to be a fascinating week. It's going to be a lot of fun. And thank you for staying up late for me, Bryce. I appreciate it.
Of course. And good morning to you in your holy hour of 3 a.m.
Exactly. No, the mornings are good for me. I love the mornings.
And Tom's in the middle of the night. So.
Tom's decoding.
Yeah.
I actually did all of it early, Charlie, as well. I was like, oh, it was nice. I got it all done early and got all prepared. So yeah, it's been a pleasure as always. So thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you guys both.
Thank you very much.
Lots of love to both of you. Happy real New Year.
Exactly.
There you go.